Hey guys, did you catch the pistachio video from last Saturday? Well, today I've got an almond video for you. You like almonds and fragrances? There's some delicious fragrances here. I'm going to let you know what they are, all coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian, talking to you about almonds and fragrances. So guess what? I've done an almond video about 4 years ago, and I'm not featuring any of the fragrances in that video in today's video. Today's video are mostly newer almond fragrances. Some of them are delicious, some of them are more gourmand than others. There's some unique ones in here. And I've ranked the list with how almondy they are and how delicious they are. You'll see some of the ones that I recommend at the top of the list, and then some at the bottom of the list are not your usual almond fragrances. But it doesn't mean they're not great fragrances, and I'll tell you about each fragrance going on. But before I get to the list, if you have a favorite almond fragrance, please add a comment below and let me know what it is. And if you want to find out more about other almond fragrances, please go catch that other video of almond fragrances. Just remember, I'm not featuring any of those ones here, and that video is from about 4 years ago. So let's get started with the list. Going to the house of SORA, it's Mallow. So Mallow is a bit of an unusual fragrance for me from this house. My favorite from this house is still Janny, but this one kind of grows on you after a while, but it's not the one from this house that I, crave and want to smell over and over again. It's very violet forward for sure, and it's meshed with sugary vanillic notes. There's raspberry here, and of course the almonds with heliotrope musk. It's quite musky and spicy, but the heliotrope and almonds together amplify this very almondy effect next to the very prominent violet note. The violet note acts a bit like violet candy and a bit like violet leaves as well, so creating a bit of a watery effect. So it's not necessarily fully gourmand. It's just an unusual fragrance, and not one of my favorites, obviously, so it's ranked at 20. But moving on to the house of Thomas de Monaco, we've got ULTIMA STORIA here. Freshy fragrance from this house, but with a powdery almondy effect happening in here. And also, it's a different, unusual take on a freshie. So it's got Citron Noir, of course, almonds, coffee, pears, orris, clearwood, leather, talcum powder, and linen. Definitely, once again, not my all-time favorite Thomas de Monaco fragrance. My favorite is still the raw gold, which I absolutely love. This one is for some other people. So it's the pear. It's got the fruitiness from the pear, the nuttiness from the almonds, and that Citron Noir or black lemons, tart things up a bit. I think it's an easy-to-wear fragrance that's powdery, almondy, and of course a bit gourmand with the citrusy touches, but nothing like really wow for me, unfortunately. But moving on to number 18, we're going to the house of Born to Stand Out. It's Happy Nuts. So Happy Nuts was featured in last week's video with the pistachio fragrances. Even though it's very prominent pistachio, it also has a very prominent almond note in here, along with black sesame as well. But there's also other notes like honey, there's caramel, there's vanilla, lots of woods, ambergris, tonka, patchouli, some booziness from rum as well. I ranked it low. Even though I like Born to Stand Out, and still my favorite from the house is Filthy Musk, I think I prefer the other fragrances more. That's why this one ended up at the bottom more. But I think in last week's video it was a bit further up than the bottom. Not my all-time favorite. I just feel like it needs a bit of substance here, and it's not as exciting as I wanted it to be. Let me know if you're a fan of Happy Nuts. What do you like about it? All right, next up, going to a cheapie from the house of LATTAFA, it's TERIAQ. So TERIAQ is a cheapie. It's created also by Canton Biche, so he's created this really delicious cheapie. I've ranked it on the lower side and the bottom more than the front because I still prefer the other ones. This one's also a bit on the feminine side for a unisex offering. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just comes off that way for me. And maybe the price or I don't know what triggered me to put it here, but when I smelled it against everything else, I preferred them a little bit more. But on its own, it's quite a yummy fragrance. It's a DNA that I feel like I'm familiar with, but there's a lot of spices. There's almonds for sure. There's fruity notes, honeyed and flowers. So I would say it's a fruity floral gourmand with some spices and things like that. It does get a bit leathery and also a bit ambery on the dry down, but I think for me, it's the almonds and the kind of syrupy caramel honey touches that are in that fragrance with the flowers. But moving on to a house called Aura Perfumes, it's GWEN, this one right here. GWEN is a super gourmand, like sugary sweet, and kind of sort of maybe in the line of something like KLE fragrances because it's got a lot of sugary sweetness. And if you're not into sweet fragrances, this one probably is not going to be something you enjoy. But there's fruity touches here, caramelly for sure, and there's this powdery floral touch happening in this as well. But the almonds really shine through with this one, along with a lot of orange flower and the neroli type of notes in this as well. But in the end, it's kind of like a fruity, cupcakey kind of experience with a lot of floral touches. You got the orange blossom and neroli in this, taking the fragrance slightly into a little bit of Love Don't Be Shy direction, and there's some booziness under there as well. I think they've thrown in a lot of things in here, and sometimes you wonder if it's going to really work. It does work here, but it's super duper gourmand. So if you're not into like these really sweet gourmands, you might want to stay away from that one. But if you are into it, definitely check it out. It's a smaller indie house. But next, going to the house of GUERLAIN, it's Oud Nude, this one right here. Are you familiar with this one? This came out with the 2 other fragrances, so 3 fragrances together. It was this one, there was Oud Cole, and there was Cherry Oud. You know, I couldn't stand Cherry Oud. I didn't know what the excitement about that was. This one does have a bit of oudiness, but not so strong. It's also very powdery, almondy as well. And I think it's quite smooth. The oud does shine through, and there's a slight animalic kind of thing happening, but not so strong. I would say it's either animalic or something Middle Eastern, like a rose, saffron, oudy kind of thing. But in the end, I think they did a great job. It's also very smooth. It's a bit closer to the skin, so it's not really loud. But I like that smoothness, the creaminess, the powdery effect, and of course the almonds against all those kind of... There's definitely a Middle Eastern edge about it that's kind of giving me a bit of a slight animalic funk, which I think it's not that, it's just giving me that idea, especially since it gives me a bit of a Middle Eastern vibe. So that is Oud Nude. It's super smooth, by the way. With that trio of fragrances, I really enjoyed that one the most. This next fragrance is not gourmand whatsoever. It's from the new Bertrand Duchaufour line called L'Entrepiste, and this is Semence Douce, this one right here. So it's very unusual, and almost, I think it's my favorite fragrance from the line, his line. I like the green kind of qualities of the tulips that are in here with the milkiness of the almond milk. But to me, it doesn't smell too much like the almond nuts. It's more green and almost like a vegetation in like a florist shop, and you're smelling stems of, plants and things like that. But there's definitely a milky effect happening in here, which makes for a very unusual experience, which is kind of cool. It would have ranked higher if it was in a different video. It's ranked a bit lower because most of the fragrances here are more gourmand leaning. But for me, this is unusually delicious smelling. If you haven't tried it, try it because it's very unusual, but really great quality work from Bertrand. All right, next up, going to the house of Morph. This is Tonka Tonic. Tonka Tonic is a nutty fragrance for sure. Loads of tonka beans. That's why it's called Tonka Tonic, but typically they put a lot of almonds with tonka beans. I think they bring out each other's qualities. So it's a very nutty, bitter, almondy fragrance. In addition to those notes, there's sandalwood, there's orange blossom, ambrette, figs, coconut water. So it's a gourmand, but super sweet and creamy and milky and very, very nutty. I really love the nuttiness in this one. And to me, there's a milky quality for sure under there. Very creamy. And I think the coconut water with all the other notes creates this kind of a very smooth, creamy effect. And also musky. Gotta remember the muskiness from the ambrette seeds that are in here, which I really, really love in that fragrance. It's very smooth and cozy. If you are looking for something that gives you the kind of a milky, creamy, almondy effect, definitely try Morph's Tonka Tonic. But then we're going to the house of Theodoros Calotinus. It's a Lucky Scent exclusive. It's almond tart, which lots of almonds in here, but I'm also getting a lot of cherries. Rather than an almond tart, it's almond cherry tart for me. But once again, very delicious, very creamy, smooth, very, very nutty. And under there, there's the cherries that appear. It might remind you a little bit of Lost Cherry, but along the way, there's a kind of a creamy, smooth cacao touches that are coming in there as well. So kind of gives you a bit of chocolate, creamy chocolate spread kind of a consistency. But quite delicious. I think he did a great job with this one. This is Almond Tart from the house of Theodorus Calotinus. Then we're going to the house of Zoologist Perfumes. It's Rabbit, this one right here. Are you familiar with Rabbit? So I ranked it a bit lower because I really enjoy this fragrance. It's a carrot cake inspired fragrance, but it does have a bit of almondy effect in it. So in the end, I've put it in the video. But the almonds are not super strong, but they are in there if you like really focus on them. At least on me, they're not. But to me, I get this really delicious carrot cake effect and one of my favorite desserts to eat. I love the cake part more than the frosting, but the idea of the warm spices that go into the creation of the cake, the doughy kind of consistency, and of course the carrots, light fruitiness as well, and of course the nuttiness. Because sometimes I've made plenty of carrot cake, and you chop up the almonds and you throw it into the batter with, you know, all the spices, all the warm spices, and of course the carrots and everything else that goes in there. So it's a really delicious offering, Rabbit from the house of Zoologist Perfumes. But next, going to the house of BDK, it's Velvet Tonka. And once again, it's a Tonka focused fragrance, but a lot of almonds go in to kind of like enhance one another. And it brings out the qualities of one another a lot, because in the end, Tonka beans do have an almond quality, but more bitter almond quality. And here we've got the almonds as well. But there is a little underlying kind of, I would say, Love Don't Be Shy like effect happening under there a bit, but with the bitter almond Tonka focus on it. It's not as strong as like Love Don't Be Shy because there's orange blossom in here. So it's there, but I think the Tonka and the almonds are overpowering it. But when you focus on the orange blossom, you kind of get that feel a little bit, but it's super delicious. I think it's still my second favorite from this house, Velvet Tonka from the house of BDK. It definitely gives me a nutty orange blossom dessert vibe for sure. All right, next up, going to the house of Creed. It's Delphinus, this one right here. Really great job by Matthew Nardin, who created this fragrance. And I think Centaurus and Delphinus were two really awesome, totally different direction, amber style fragrances. But this one is super smooth and creamy and almost buttery because there's Orris here, vanilla, incense, leather. There's a lot of almonds with this one, heliotrope, orchid, and amber wood. It wears super smooth and very gourmand, but you know, ambery as well, but on the vanillic almondy side. And of course the Orris powderiness is so airy. This is super delicious. Definitely a great job by whoever, you know, worked with the perfumer and went through the mods and things. They selected something really, really great. I really love it. So that is Delphinus from the house of Creed. Let me know if you prefer that one over Centaurus or Centaurus versus Delphinus. Both of them are great for me. I find Centaurus to last a little longer than Delphinus by experience, but I really love the way Delphinus smells. But moving on to the house of Giardini di Toscana, this is Blue Indaco, this one right here. So I did a video with Joe a long time ago on this house, and we ranked this fragrance pretty high. It's definitely not Bianco Latte, but definitely a solid, you know, contender for something featuring a lot of almonds, but it doesn't get super gourmand. It goes more musky because it has muscanone, habanolide, ambroxan, and of course almonds, vanilla, frangipani, bergamot, and pink pepper. So if you like the idea of something musky, because the muscanone, habanolide, and ambroxan are total musky notes mixed kind of beautifully with the almonds and vanilla and the frangipani and things like that, I think you're gonna enjoy this one. Again, gourmand leaning, but not super gourmand like some of the other fragrances. This is Blue Indaco from the house of Giardini di Toscana. Next, going to the house of Alexander J. This is Imperial Peacock. So we featured this in our Scent Club Kid last autumn, and I recently did a short video on this, letting everybody know that there was discounted bottles available at a discounter online. So the fragrance is 120 ml for $3.80. It is selling at Neiman Marcus, but it was about 50% off over at a few discounters, so a great deal. But it's so super delicious. I've been wearing quite a bit of it lately, and I get great compliments created by the Flair perfumer Amélie Bourgeois, but it's vanilla with almonds and heliotrope. There's rhubarb here, also warm, spicy cinnamon, some musky notes and woods. It's so yummy, guys. If you haven't tried this, please do. And again, the bottle is gorgeous, as you can see right there. The next fragrance going to the house of Orchid is Almond Suede. Oh man, this was one of my favorite offerings from last year. They did such a great job. This is Khalees Becker, I think, from what I remember. But combining bitter almonds with suede, really wonderful. So once again, it's gourmand leaning, but not super, sweet and syrupy gourmand, but you've got the suede note, pine tar, candied sugars, saffron, there's honeycomb, neroli, orange flower, cistus, vanilla, pink pepper, bergamot, but super yum. And I mentioned it in my video review of this one. I do get a bit of Love Don't Be Shy, and Khalees Becker is the woman perfumer from Gévaudan who created this and also Love Don't Be Shy. Because I think she's covered it up with the almondy notes and the suede note. But under there, when you focus on it, you get a bit of that slight bit of that DNA, which makes it really delicious. This is so good. If you haven't tried it, please do. It's Almond Suede from the house of Orchid. Next, we're going to talk about the world's most polarizing fragrance. It's Vanilla Sex from the house of Tom Ford. It's either a love it or hate it with this fragrance. Absolutely love it. It's a lot of vanilla, but there's also almondy touches. And for me, I get the almond nougat vibe with this one. And it's definitely become one of my favorite fragrances from this house as of the last 2-3 years. I know it's got a naughty name. Some people are turned off by it and things like that, but I mostly focus on the fragrance and absolutely love the way it smells. Again, it gives me the almond nougat vibes, and that's what I like about it. When I travel to Spain, I buy some of that stuff and eat it, and it's so delicious, and that's the kind of vibe I get with Vanilla Sex. But moving on to the house of Parfums d'Ucita, this is Tonka Latte. And Tonka Latte was also recently featured in our mystery box. Would you get your box in? What did you think about Tonka Latte? Please add a comment. And Tonka Latte, it's Tonka beans once again. It's latte because it's creamy, smooth, and milky. What they usually do with Tonka beans, they add almonds to it to accentuate one another. And they've done such a great job with this one. It's super, super creamy. Not only do they have milk, they also have white chocolate, vanilla. It's so yummy. But don't forget, there's also honey in here, giving you a bit of a honey touch. Imagine drizzling some honey in your warm latte or something to sweeten it up. That's the kind of vibe I get. I think she did such a great job with this one. Tonka Latte from the house of Parfums d'Ucita. But next, going to the house of Nectar Olfactive, it's Supreme Nectar. Supreme Nectar is so delicious. It's basically lots of almonds drizzled, or chopped up almonds drizzled with honey. And there's musky notes in here. There's ambery notes. And if you caught my video with Andy of this line, my favorite in the line is this one, because I just really love the combination of the honey and the almonds together. It's definitely a match made in heaven here. It's a sweet, but also not super sugary sweet, so definitely tolerable. There's also almond blossom in here and some creamy notes. It wears super smooth and creamy, really delicious. If you haven't tried that, please do. Definitely one of my favorites from this house. It's Supreme Nectar from the house of Nectar Olfactive. All right, 2 more fragrances, guys. This next fragrance is from the house of Blender Graphie. This is Vanilla Mudslide, featured in our latest mystery box. If you haven't gotten it, this is still there. We still have a few kits left. But this one to me is so super sexy on me. I absolutely love it. Very, very long lasting because it is an extrait de parfum. And there's a lot of sweet and bitter almonds in here. There's a buttery note in here. Coconut milk, cocoa, coffee, ISOE super, vodka, ambroxan, white musks, and Davana. Compliments galore with this one. I absolutely love the compliments I get with this one. And with all these notes, the almonds you'll pick up, the vanilla you for sure will pick up. I also get a bit of a tobacco vibe, which is kind of super sexy layer to the fragrance. Absolutely love it. Because of that, it's so good. And I featured it here at number 2. Blender Graphie's Vanilla Mudslide. And the number 1 fragrance here is a new extrait de parfum from the house of Nuit Nomade. This is Chemin d'Amande, this one right here. They did such a great job with this extrait de parfum. It might become my favorite extrait. It's super gourmand, bitter almonds, but there's also cereal note in here. So it's a bit cereal-y, but more about not fruits and, garbage cereal like that, but just like the grainy kind of cereal note in here. Oh man, it's good. But you really pick up the bitterness of the almonds. It's quite bitter, and I like that about it. I've cooked with plenty of almonds. I love green almonds as well. I eat them. I recently posted about them in my personal Instagram account. If you have not following me there, go catch that post because I love to eat green almonds right off the tree. And you get a bit of that bitterness here. Not greenness though, but it's the cereal and the almonds together. And the vanilla, it's super, super yum. It totally deserves to be number one. This is Chemin d'Amande from the house of Unduino Mod. And that's the number one fragrance for you guys. Let me know your thoughts on these almond fragrances, guys. And again, I mentioned I've done a video on almond fragrances like 3-4 years ago. There's a video there. You can catch what the other almond fragrances I spoke about in that video. But these are mostly newer almond fragrances. The gourmand craze is here to stay, I guess, and that's why we have a lot more, almondy fragrances. Of course, the one that's not necessarily super gourmand is L'Entreprise Semence Douce. Basically, it stands, I won't get into it right now, but you can kind of figure it out. So it's a green take on a kind of floral, stemmy almond milk fragrance, but the rest of them are fairly gourmand. Let me know your favorites, add a comment below, and thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And last but not least, I do have a bonus, and this one actually was a bonus in the pistachio video as well. This is Zara's Moonlight Whisper Intense. I've been hyping this one because I consider it one of the best fragrances from Zara. They did such a great job with it. It reminds me of the discontinued Laura Mercier Creme de Pistache fragrance. Absolutely loved it and never bought that fragrance. But now, since I'm into gourmands so much, I wish I had it, but now we can have it here with Moonlight Whisper Intense. It's a lot of pistachios. There's a lot of almond cream here, violets, vanilla, sandalwood. It's so super delicious. Really, really yummy. And it's not so expensive, guys, so you can totally get a bottle of that and not break the bank. I think it's about 100 ml for $40. Very yummy. The violets is giving us a bit of a candied, slight fruity, ozonic touch, but it's all like nutty notes and vanillic notes and sandalwood. Thanks so much for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.